the Sahara Desert, where you never escape the heat. It's not a place where you're meant to go long-distance running, but every year 1,000 slightly crazy people from all over the world do. This is the Marathon des Sables. 1,000 of us will start the race, but not all of us will finish. You have to prove that you've had your heart and health tested by a doctor, and your entry fee covers the cost of repatriating your body, just in case you die.
It's a stupid thing to do. Why run across the desert?
You have the sun beating down in your head, so your head's throbbing. You've got sweat dripping down into your eyes. The salt is burning your eyes.
Body's telling you to stop, and your brain is trying to say, no, I can't stop.
And it's a bit silly because it's only a run.
I want this to be a small moment in my life where I do something slightly radical. I just want to push myself to a point possibly where I've never been before.
My name is Tom. I'm a BBC journalist, but I'm taking a couple of weeks' holiday and paying nearly $6,000 of my own money to take on this extreme challenge. I'll be joined by some very good friends. Andy is a consultant who lives in New York.
The biggest fear is not being able to complete the race or someone getting hurt, I think. That's the worst case.
Oz is a banker and he's from London.
My intention is to walk or crawl to the finish line in whatever state I can.
And Will is a doctor, also in London.
Am I mad doing this marathon? I think with planning and enough training, I think we're going to be okay.
The Marathon des Sables happens every year in a remote part of southern Morocco. We have to cover 220 kilometers in 6 days across the desert, finishing up in Igadoun Takbalt. Now the waiting and training is over. We touch down in an airport close to the Algerian border, but we're still a 5-hour coach ride from base camp. Oz, Will and I are travelling with the significant British contingent. Andy is taking a separate flight from New York.
It's pretty hot.
How are you? You alright? Good to see you, bud.
You got us a spot?
What are you doing? Well, I've got a tent, yeah, but there's no one in. I've been 105. Cool. That's the tent that we got. Great. How are you? Yeah, good. Yes.
Andy has already arrived at our first desert camp.
It's a strange place. Hey, it's nuts, isn't it? With anyone else? Yeah. No.
Here we will spend 2 nights, preparing our kit, getting used to life in the desert,
Home sweet home.
and contemplating the scale of the challenge ahead.
Apparently, there was a guy who was staying with. His tent was with the elite, like the people that win it every year, the Moroccan guys. And because he lives in Morocco, so he's in their tent. Apparently, they opened up the book and they were like, it's a tough year.
Yeah.
I looked at the book and think, I don't understand what that map says.
The first 15 kilometres.
Dunes, basically.
I guess it's those dunes over there.
Oh no.
Not only is this event 220 kilometres in 6 days in 40 to 50 degree heat, but we also have to carry all our food, clothes and kit for the week. The race organisers check we have a list of compulsory safety items. We then have a delicate balance to make. We don't want to carry too much weight, but we need to have enough food for the extreme activity we face during the day.
There's a minimum amount of calories you need to take, so the minimum is 12,000 calories.
14,000.
Right, okay, there you go. I'm on top of the facts. 14,000 calories.
That doesn't work for me.
So you've got to go beyond that. I mean, we're all pushing 20,000 calories, which most of the really serious people here thinks a bit of a joke. But our tactic is that we don't want to be hungry in the evenings.
Yeah.
Damage, mate.
9.8 kilos without water.
We've got too much weight, too much food.
I've got 21,000 calories. You're meant to have 14,000 minimum. I've got 21,000, but I'd say I'm a third larger than the average, maybe.
Andy has a tough call. How many salami snacks will he leave behind?
I've discarded 2, unfortunately. So these are. I'm letting these go back to the hotel. But I'll see them in a week, hopefully. I'll miss them.
Around 15% of the crazy people who attempt the Marathon des Sables are female, including one blind woman who runs with a guide. The race's youngest competitor was just 16, the oldest 79. Most are European, but there are runners from every continent of the world.
Japanese Bible. One Piece.
And it's the Japanese contingent who are here to have the most fun and suffer the most.
You're going to run the race dressed like this?
Yes, all the time. This wear, cow wear.
Why? Why?
Why? I like cow.
You're crazy.
Yes, I like crazy. I'm crazy. Moo!
The night before the start, and a chance to compare our kit with a Moroccan desert champ who's won the race 5 times.
How much do you carry? How much is that? Weight? 6.7 kilograms.
Good, really.
What's your technique for the jeans? You slalom, do you? He dances up the jeans. Yeah, I didn't feel great when we got to the camp yesterday. I began to freak out a little bit, if I'm honest. Mainly because of all the maps and stuff. I'm not the best map reader. I have a propensity to get lost in the Welsh countryside, let alone in the desert, and obviously there's bigger implications of getting lost out here.
My mother's last words on the phone on Thursday were, "For God's sake, don't die." So I think that's probably the general theme of most people I've spoken to.
Physically, yeah, I'm a little nervous. I mean, this is just the big question for me. The knee's feeling quite good in the heat, actually, so the heat might be good for it. I sent a couple of texts to my wife Louise, and she's really excited for me, and she says she's very proud.
A little bit anxious. Kind of wanted to get started, partly because the sooner it starts, the sooner it'll finish.
Andy's getting married in just a few weeks, and as we're all leaving our phones behind, there's time for a final call to his fiancée back home.
Yeah, and don't worry. I'll be fine. All right. Love you, sweetheart. See you in a week. Bye. Bye.
So you're practicing a lot of blues for us, have you?
Yeah, a lot of blues.
It's a stupid thing to do. Why run across the desert? Why run 200 and something kilometres through a desert and deprive your body of what it needs most?
Finally, we're off. We have just 220 kilometres to go.
Let's do this.
The longest competitive race I've ever done was 5.5 kilometres long.
I'd done only a handful of runs until October last year.
I don't really like running.
At a mere 34 kilometres, day one is the shortest stage, but it's a brutal baptism in desert running, with a long stretch of dunes near the very start.
We started off with 15 kilometres of dunes, which was just so sapping on the energy, and you could really feel it.
You never run on that type of sandy ground. It's not like running on the beach.
It's really soft sand, particularly on the big dunes, and so you put your foot in and your foot just slips back, and then you put the next one and it just slips back. It takes everything you have.
That's the first running they've done in about 2 hours, right?
Absolutely.
Don't believe them when you see them pounding the tunes there.
Then add in the heat.
Kind of 40-50 degrees, I think, at its hottest. You don't necessarily realise how hot it is. Whereas because of the heat and the wind, you don't actually feel like you're sweating that much. So it strangely doesn't feel like it's very dry heat. But then you realise you've had 9 litres of water and not been to the loo, and you think, actually, that's pretty intense.
Oh. You have the sun beating down in your head, so your head's throbbing, you've got sweat dripping down into your eyes, the salt is burning your eyes.
When you're running during the day, you just can't escape the heat. You just crave loads of water, you crave a cool bucket of water over your head, you just crave a bit of shade, and there's no shade in the desert almost.
When you feel a gust of breeze, then it immediately lifts the spirits, and that tells you, I think, how hot it is. It's the hottest I've ever been, apart from in a in a sauna.
After the dunes, our first checkpoint.
Got a bit of a hot spot on the back of that heel. This blister here is starting.
What about your chafing, mate? How's the chafing?
The chafing's worrying me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A bit of under chafing.
Good. Good going? Let's go. That'll do it.
The dry, desolate landscape which we cross is inhospitably beautiful. Here we pass an abandoned village. We're travellers through one of the least inhabited parts of the earth.
Brutal today. The first set of dunes were okay. That second set was just so difficult. I really struggled. But it's so good to be back. So good. I just want to see what the damage is tomorrow when I've slept on this. I'm a bit nervous.
Today was really tough. The first set of dunes were okay, and then until we got to the checkpoint it was fine, and then it just got hotter and hotter and hotter and harder and harder and harder. And the last, I was just counting down each kilometre, and the last 5 kilometres were just absolutely brutal. People vomiting. There was people who were running at the beginning, started walking, and then virtually crawling by the end.
It just didn't finish. And then I felt really, like my shoulders are absolutely gained. Like I really can feel it here.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm getting cramp in my abs, which isn't a good sign.
I think before it we were treating it as a run-walk, and I think from now on we're going to treat it as a walk-run.
2 words, reality check. That's what today was.
Definitely, man.
Crucial to completing a 6-day race through the desert are your feet. And the race doctors have the unenviable task of treating dozens of blisters every night.
Try to do it good so they don't have to come back. That's the real reason. So, there's 1,000 runners and probably everybody will come to see us. So if you count it good, we are like now like 14 people working at the same time. So
that hurts.
Sorry.
That's no problem. Do what you need to do.
We're lucky enough to have a doctor in our group, but ironically, Dr. Will's feet are the ones suffering the most.
See, this is one of 6 or 7 blisters that I've got, but this is probably the meatiest one. So I'm going to plan to pop it and then put some iodine in the top. Yeah. Medical diagnosis: blister. Self-diagnosis is extremely severe blister, but probably it's mild to insignificant. That is incredibly painful.
Yeah, I can imagine that. What a mate. Necessary evil.
Right, I'm giving up.
That pain's the good.
Where's the hotel?
Battling the heat and the sandy, rocky terrain of the desert takes some getting used to. But get used to it you must, because this is a 6-day event. Run 1 desert marathon, and you wake up and run another again.
Formidable.
Almost immediately every day, as soon as you cross the start line, a couple of miles in, your body's just going, oh, really? Really, are we really going to do this again? So you just got to battle on.
Start of each day it was very, very painful running on those feet, run through it and run through it.
plaît. Le maximum possible.
It's true.
It is really tough. It's much hotter than yesterday because the breeze has gone, so you really feel the heat on the head. Because we only had one bottle of water this morning, it's quite tough, but actually feeling not too bad, so could be a lot worse.
Oh,
That's good.
last bit.
Yeah, go on.
Down the back of the neck.
It's actually quite cold. Oh, it's lovely.
No one would want to go back and say, well, I crashed out on day 2. I mean, I got massively dehydrated. And that did happen to people, and that's understandable in an event like this, an extreme event.
Your body's telling you to stop, and your brain is trying to say, no, I can't stop.
But that balancing act between brain and body is hard to get right in extreme conditions. And at the finish of 41-kilometre day 2, we witness Lee from Great Britain. As he inches, aided over the line, it's clear that Lee has pushed himself to the very limit.
Oh, Lee. Lee, ouvre les yeux. Lee, ouvre les yeux. Ouvre les yeux.
Vous avez appelé un médecin?
Lee is later airlifted on one of the 2 helicopters on standby for medical emergencies. At hospital, he experiences multiple organ failure and he's in a coma for a week. Lee has now fully recovered and is planning to run again. Dr. Fred Compagnon leads a large team of medics who work tirelessly throughout the event.
Le risque majeur dans cette course est ce qu'on appelle l'hyperthermie d'effort, qui est en fait une surcharge en température de l'organisme qui n'arrive plus à éliminer la température, enfin les calories produites par l'effort, avec un risque vital en quelques minutes s'il n'est pas pris en charge. Nous en avons environ une par an. Nous en avons une le deuxième jour qui a nécessité une prise en charge de réanimation et qui a été évacuée ensuite sur Casablanca.
As the week progresses, the number of casualties mounts. 15% of competitors won't make it. Instead, they'll get an early lift home. Coming up next time, we face by far our most daunting challenge. Day 4 is an 81-kilometre stage. This will be by far the furthest and the hardest run that any of us have ever done.